Hi, my name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. The last couple of weeks, I've been reading more about the yogic ethic principles that Tommy Rosen brings to his Recovery 2.0 program. Today, I'm going to continue that with the third niyama. The niyamas are observances, principles that we use to guide our interactions with the internal world, with ourselves. And today's niyama is tapas. And tapas means heat and refers to the inner fire that results from spiritual practices such as yoga, meditation, and other disciplines, which are necessary to burn away the things that block us. And skipping ahead a bit, he says tapas even includes the mental discipline to return to presence when you notice you have lost it. So I'm going to return to that in a second. The last thing I'll read that he writes is, tapas puts our desires in check and helps us move beyond craving. Through practices that generate tapas, we also cultivate tranquility and balance, two qualities that are lacking from the character of most active addicts. So I can't speak a lot about yoga because I don't have an enormous amount of experience with it. I can say that doing yoga, the times that I have done it and been instructed in yoga, has been an incredibly cleansing experience. There is, number one, it's incredibly good for your body to do the kinds of poses, stretches, and movements that are involved in yoga. It's unbelievably complicated to keep your mind in tune with your body during yoga. At first, at least it was for me. I found myself focusing on what I was feeling rather than what I was doing. And as I continued to practice yoga, I was able to move away from that, oh my gosh, what am I feeling? This is uncomfortable, to focusing more on what am I doing? And that's an important distinction. In our addiction, a lot of times we're really focused more on our feelings and our emotions and what they are and getting really caught up in them rather than thinking about what it is we're doing. And so when in my addiction, I got caught up in my emotions and was just worried about my emotions and what was going on there, it was easy for me to make excuses and reasons that getting engaged in addictive behavior was okay, because I wasn't focused on that action. I was focused on my emotions and changing them. In recovery, it's the opposite. I'm focused on my actions. And so I know that the action of going and getting high or drunk is not something that I'm going to engage in. Therefore, if I have emotions that are unpleasant, I need to take other actions in order to deal with them. And sometimes I'm just going to have to accept that those are the emotions that are present in my life at the moment, and that as long as I keep doing the right things in life, they will eventually change. Indeed, that happened to me earlier this week. If you watched one of my videos earlier this week, I had a day where I was feeling very depressed, and I had to just say to myself, look, this emotion might be here for now, and based on all my experiences in life, it will not last forever. And every time I've had this emotion, it has eventually gone away. And I know from my time in recovery that it definitely will be a emotion that goes away more than likely within a few hours, as long as I just do the right things and don't let it guide my actions. And as soon as I started to do the right things, which in this case were working, doing some schoolwork that I had to get done, and taking care of some things around the house, before long, it was gone. And so it's an important distinction between focusing on our emotions and how we're feeling and focusing on our actions and what we're doing. So yoga helped me to draw that distinction, but it's got way more benefits that I would encourage anybody who's getting into recovery to consider looking at. I know a lot of people who regularly practice yoga as part of their recovery. I honestly think I would benefit from it. Right now, my physical exercise is more focused on other things. And so I would like at some point to branch out into yoga. But another thing he mentions here is meditation, and reading again what he talks about with mental discipline as related to this niyama. He says, tapas even includes the mental discipline to return to presence when you notice you have lost it. Now, this sounds a lot like mindfulness meditation to me. And if you're not familiar with mindfulness meditation, that's the practice of sitting and being quiet and focusing on your breath. And that might be oversimplifying it, but that's the way that I think about it. And when you do this for any given period of time, especially if you're not used to doing it, for most people, that is not a simple thing to do. For most people, you will focus on your breath, and even for me these days, and I have been doing it reliably every day for a couple of years now. When you start to focus on your breath, pretty quickly your mind wanders off to something else. Mindfulness meditation is where you learn to recognize that when that happens, and then gently bring your mind back to focusing on your breath. And this practice has brought me so much awareness of what's going on in my head. And that is a really important part of my recovery. Being able to watch what's happening in my head, the thoughts that are going on, and then recognizing what they are, and then pulling myself back to center, back to where I want to be, back into the present moment. That's something that I could not do in my addiction. When I had thoughts in my addiction, I just let them run with me. They just ran away from me, and I ran with them. And so meditation and this practice and cultivating the ability to recognize when things are going off track and then bringing yourself back to center, that is a huge part of learning how to guide your energy. And for me, has been a really important part of my recovery process. So this particular niyama, the practices involved, I would encourage everybody to explore as part of recovery, because it really is a fantastic way to start to learn how to align your thinking with focus on action rather than emotion. And that is, being able to do that is really a blessing, and I would argue a necessity for success in long-term recovery. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow with more. Have a good one.